Confab, confab, confabulation. 音の科学者グアム。
Okay, we're on. So thank you, Justin Witte. Thank you for being with me this evening. Can you just tell us a little bit about who you are?
My name is Justin. Yes. I am someone who was on Social Security for about 10 years. I have 8 disorders with my brain, and I've overcome them all. I hardly see any doctors today. Most doctors were people that couldn't really help me in lots of ways. I still have seizures at times, and I'm autistic. I have mood swings that give me propensities for such things as bipolar, but it has to do with congenital defects in my brain. And I've overcome them all, and I'm a very happy person today. I'm someone who's struggled a lot in lots of ways, but one of the things I've noticed is that there's not much difference between me and anyone else. I like a quote from Maya Angelou I like one time that I was telling my wife today. We are more alike than unalike. Nothing human can be alien to me. And I'm just trying to see if I can take what I've learned about myself and try and help others.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for your courage and your honesty and being brave enough to share your story with us. This is going to be truly helpful to a lot of people. So thank you so much for being with me today, sharing this with everyone. So can you just tell us a little bit about when you discovered that you had these various diagnostics with your brain?
I was diagnosed with epilepsy at about the age of 20. I got institutionalized as a child for emotional and mental disorders. They always knew I was dyslexic and ADD. But medications could not help me for some reason. I had atypical reactions to medications. There was medications that would cause seizures that actually helped my seizures. There was medications that were supposed to make my seizures better that made my seizures worse. And my doctors had never seen that before. So I've seen copious amounts of doctors, and most couldn't help me. Today, the only thing I'm taking for epilepsy is CBD. And I take half a Safras, which is a dopamine 2 receptor site blocker. And that's the way I get to sleep at night, because my brain naturally produces more dopamine. That's the same thing that happens when someone does speed. My brain does that naturally. I produce too much dopamine. Yeah.
Okay. And so you're saying that all of your issues come from the way that you were born with certain brain abnormalities, accompanied with undue suffering because of lack of proper diagnosis.
There was other circumstances. I grew up in a pretty troubled household. My dad was an alcoholic too. I went to that school pretty much because of him. I had a bad reaction to my childhood, and then people are the way they are for two uncontrollable reasons, in my opinion. Their genetics and their circumstances. It's something we are all powerless over. People learn 90% of what they learn between the ages of 1 and 5. How much of us have any type of choice between the age of 1 and 5, let alone choice at all, in my opinion? So one of the things I'd say is that it's all, if you want to get better in any way, it's more about awareness and trial and error. And I strive for perfection, and I'm grateful for progress. And I was created this way for a reason. So I believe we're all perfect the way we are, and there's always room for improvement.
Do you believe that the philosophy of the yogas that you subscribe to go hand in hand with the physical aspect of actually doing yoga?
I practice the physical aspect of yoga that I practice is daily meditation. I meditate every day for 45 minutes.
Got it.
And I try and get to a state of completely emptiness where I get into nothing but my consciousness. I'm not that, I try and drop my mind completely. And I describe it in an essay on ADHD that it's the way I overcame my ADHD because Ritalins don't do anything for me.
And yeah, you want to mention your website and the radio shows that you've appeared on?
Yes, I appeared on some radio shows for Business Talk Radio. I'm not doing those currently, but I have them if anyone's interested in them saved. I have a blog, justinwittyblog.wordpress.com. And on that, I have my theories of ways to overcome both depression, anxiety, and ADHD through meditation. I also am rewriting another chapter on schizophrenia and thought disorders because I look at the world, to me, we're all crazy. And it is only the truly crazy people that cannot question their sanity. And what is the difference between any person who is crazy and one who is not? If we all believe things that aren't true, and neither can question their sanity.
Okay. Have you heard of the placebo effect, and what do you think about
Yes, I have.
that? In
I love the placebo effect is something they give during trials for medications. They would give a placebo at the same time they were giving a medication to see the reactions, how they can tell if the medication they're giving to someone actually works or not, or if it's just an atypical reaction someone's having the medication.
Yeah. Specifically, I'm speaking about the people who have healed from cancer or who have had.
I don't know. I'm not that familiar with cancer.
Well, I mean, placebos are given in experience that actually cause the molecular structure of your brain to change.
So fear is nothing but a love of self. What is narcissism? It's just a fear. It's a love of self. You are scared of what the world thinks about you, and you can't even acknowledge that. I was that way for a while. Today, I realize that love is what controls us all. And one of my favorite quotes from Nisargadatta Maharaj: life is love and love is life. What keeps the body together but love? And it's what you try and do in the Bhagavad Gita. It's what you try and do in the Vivekananda. That is the way of meditation in ancient India. Focus on I am, as Nisargadatta Maharaj would say. The only thing you can truly prove, I am. And then just try and drop the rest. And any other thoughts that rise in my mind when I'm meditating, I say I'm powerless and I gently refocus. And or I say I have no control, or I just say who cares is a good one.
Okay.
And yeah. And then I just gently refocus each and every time. And that has been able to increase my attention span. I was a functional illiterate most of my life because of my ADD. I had a third grade reading level up to about the age of 30. Today I have 2 college degrees and was in graduate school for philosophy. I can read Wilfrid Sellers. If someone can read Wilfrid Sellers, they can read anything in English.
How did you
What's that?
How did you overcome that, and how did you get to the level?
Well, meditation has allowed me to overcome my ADD. I also took a reading course at called Linda Mood-Bell in San Francisco, which is about sensory cognitive thinking. It's meant for people with learning disabilities that increases oxygen flow to parts of the brain that are underdeveloped. People with dyslexia and learning disabilities, they have parts of the brain that are overdeveloped and parts of the brain that are underdeveloped, and they have a hard time communicating. Einstein was dyslexic.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Einstein had, I don't remember the name of it, but he actually had a disorder that was linked to numbers and the way that he saw numbers and spatial quantities. So absolutely. And
Some speculate he was on the spectrum of autism in some way. My doctors have said I am as well.
yes, but the amazing thing is that he became a genius at his very uh, uh, dysfunction or whatever word you
Yeah,
want for it. He became a genius at it. So it's interesting. It's interesting what willpower and belief can do to the mind and the molecular
well,
structure.
it's all about belief. It's all about belief.
Yeah,
Our reality is what we believe, and everyone has a different belief in one way or another.
well said. I just wanted to share this quote that Einstein. It's one of my favorite quotes. I just want to know what you think about it, and then I have one more question for you. Um,
Okay.
Einstein quote is, "The intuitive mind is a sacred, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift."
I agree with that. I believe that most people have no desire for truth. What most people want is a validation of beliefs. What most people is to know what they believe is true. I'm a firm believer America wasn't founded on freedom, but you hear it from both political parties every year. That to me is easily disproven. But it doesn't get people to, most people want to know what they believe is true, and that is why we fight. That is why pride heads the procession. And it's intuition that allows us to question things and to refute things and to look for more and more answers. As long as the soul is attached to the body, in my opinion, there's progress to be made. And I can only be right about one thing, and that is that I exist. Everything else is a semantical inference, suspected doubt. I need to be able to question everything, especially myself.
Got it. So one more question. You mentioned in some of your writings about narcissistic values. Um,
Mhm.
what do you consider narcissistic values to be?
I consider them to be a sense of fear that you cannot see. To me, love controls us all. We are all controlled by desire. We are all controlled by fear. We are all controlled by these passions and cravings that get us to do different things. But ask yourself, what is fear? Fear is nothing but an urge to protect yourself. So fear is nothing but a love of self. What is narcissism? It's just a fear. It's a love of self. You are scared of what the world thinks about you, and you can't even acknowledge that. I was that way for a while. Today, I realize that love is what controls us all. And one of my favorite quotes from Nisargadatta Maharaj: life is love and love is life. What keeps the body together but love? What is desire but love of self? What is fear but the urge to protect? What is knowledge but the love of truth? The means and the form may be wrong, but the motive behind is always love, love of the me and the mind. The me and the mind may be small and insignificant or may explode and embrace the universe, but love remains. I'm a monist. I believe that we're all one, and there's only one thing that controls us all, and it's love of something. It's love of self. It's a love of truth and knowledge. But it's just a misguided form in one way or another if it harms another person. And that's what it's about. It's about understanding your own mind, seeing what it is that truly controls you, and having the awareness to correct it.
Thank you so much. That was so well said. And thank you so much again for your a little bit of your love and your courage, and for others out here who are suffering from depression, especially now in these times, definitely anxiety. So thank you so much. And the last thing too is, what do you recommend for people out here that have been through what you have? What are some of your recommendations for them? I mean,
Well,
definitely going
like
to.
I said, I agree with the Buddha. Everybody suffers. The whole world suffers. I look at right now, especially. But just be willing to question yourself. Try sitting in silence and focusing on I.